he's mentioned Mr. Henry Lu. Okay, Mr. Lu has almost 30 years of experience in the banking and IT industry in a career that took him from software development and IT operations to management and consulting. And today, you're very happy that he's here with us to share his views on why we are here on a very critical juncture that is threatening a lot of firms with extinction. And his topic today with us, I'm sure is very much related to cloud computing, and it's titled as a IT as a service. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Henry Lu.
Thank you, Lindy. Hi. Now, 18 years ago, right, I was the head of IT for an investment bank, and we call our user customers, right? And I have one very important customers because he made 60 to 70% of the bank's revenue, right? So we have very regular service level reviews, right? Because he pays so much. We say you get 99.99%, and so we review that. And in one of these review meetings, right, he complained very loudly. He says, Henry, right, you are too expensive. Your IT is costing me a lot of money, but it is not helping me make more money, right? This is a very important guy. He's a managing director, equivalent of an SVP or even an EVP, right? So he gave me a final jab. He says, IT is a cost center, and IT is a drag on the business, right? I was hurt and offended. So I said, look, why don't you come down with me to the data center? I invited him to the data center. We got in the door, and you could see rows and rows of racks. Some 42-use cabinets, as high as that. Some with doors, without doors. So I pointed to some of those equipment with the power switches, and I said, do you know what that button there? He says, yeah, that's a power switch. I say, yes, power switch. Now, would you like to pick any piece of the equipment in there and press it and turn it off? Right? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Henry Lu. Today, I'm addressing you as a cloud computing specialist, right? Meaning I do other things as well. Okay, I'm a chartered IT professional belonging to the British Computer Society. I am an IT expert and a design thinking practitioner too. And I studied with the University of Australia for my MBA. And in my spare time, I dabble with psychological science, right? Basically, cognitive and thinking skills. Okay? So, come back to the story, right? The moral of the story is, I wanted to tell him was, look, IT is a cost center, right? But it is a very different form of cost, right? It is not the cost that I was cross-charging him, right? But it would have been the cost if he had pressed a button and the system goes down and he doesn't make money anymore. That would have been his cost. Okay? Now, 18 years ago, right? No Wi-Fi, no SAN. VMware was just being founded, right? No OpenStack, no Cloud Foundry. These are all building blocks of cloud computing, by the way, right? So no cloud computing. But if you fast forward it to today, yeah, it is a transformation. The cloud landscape is changing. Yeah? So what used to be known as IT as a cost center is today evolving into IT as a service, right? And this morning, I just basically have 4 thoughts to share with you in terms of, if you know it, you hear it, what kind of decisions would you be making, right? I'll talk to you about disruption. What is this disruption? What is its impact? How real is it for you? What is its impact for you, right? I'll talk about strategy, because if something is poking you and it hurts, right, very badly, you got to deal with it. And typically, it's starting with strategy. right? From strategy leading on to execution, because you can strategize all you want. But if you are not going to take that first step to act on the strategy, then a lot of this strategization is pointless, right? And then lastly, I'm going to talk about IT as a service, or ITaas, right? Which is a manifestation of what execution could be for you. So disruption, right? It's happening all the time. It's everywhere and every time, right? And, you know, historians, they like to plot timelines like this, you know, that chart the cost of mankind, right? So let's not go too far back, right? Let's go to about 10,000 years back when we are in the agricultural age, right? That lasted 10,000 years. Before the industrial age came in, that lasted about 200 years. Life-changing, industrial age, yeah? Yeah, steam engine, electricity, assembly lines, yeah? And then came the information age, getting shorter and shorter. It's 40 years now, right? And then the age of the knowledge, roughly another 40 years, right? And guess what? Some people are saying we are in the age of the intelligence now. 207 just started. Here it starts to get a little bit controversial. You know why? This is the age of the intelligence. Look and think of all the people and the things happening around us. I think it's bordering more on stupidity than intelligence, yeah? Okay, but let's not get there. I'm getting too personal. Okay, so this chart is telling us change is forever with us. Disruption is forever with us. Every single phase of this activity is catastrophic, right? It changes things, it disrupted. We are right in the middle going through one, right? And what are we going to do about it, right? Do we call the present age that we are in the age of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? Or maybe the age of the digital transformation, or maybe simply just the age of digital, right? And by the way, right, digital has gone from a word that is an adjective to a word that is a noun now, right? So this is the age of the digital, if you like. Change. Digital Darwinism. You know Darwin, right? Yeah. Now I don't mean the part where they say my ancestors were monkeys, yeah? Okay, yeah? But the Darwinian concept of natural selection, survival of the fittest, right? So digital Darwinism is basically defined for us here as technology and society moving faster than you can adapt. Okay, let's take some examples. According to this slide here, 1955, Fortune 500 companies. So you know Fortune 500 companies, they are the top 500 revenue generating companies in the world, 1955. All right? What happened? Only 71 of them, 430 in other words, have gone bust, closed down, merged, whatever. Right? And I have my own favorite list here, which is, you know, in my lifetime, Kodak, Borders, we should know Borders very well, Wheelock, right? They were in Wheelock, Pan Am, yeah? Enron, Arthur Anderson, where I was for a while, right? And lately, Hanjin Shipping, right? Life expectancy, right? Before we are in this digital transformation for a company was kind of like 75 years, right? Now I came from HPE as well. HP was 75 last year before they split into, you know, a few other companies. That was 75. Today, the expectancy of business companies is kind of hovering around 15 years and getting shorter, right? Nearer to home, California Fitness, gone. John Little, my favorite, my wife's favorite rather, he spends all my money, she spends all my money, right? Right? Emphasis, fashion designers, homegrown, all over China, Taiwan, you know. They are now only, I think, only present in China, right? Look at these statistics. This is a Singaporean statistics. 2015, 49,000 closed shop. Right? 49,000 Singaporean businesses closed shop. And in the first 6 months of 2016, 42,000. That's just last year only, huh? Last year only. 42,000 businesses closed shop. Okay? Now, I'm not pinning, all these companies that have closed shops, belly up, they've gone belly up, pinning it all on technology. Okay? Of course not. Right? But it goes, a big part of it has got to be technology. And I can share with you a few more names afterwards, where I think businesses like, that will go up because of technology. So, digital Darwinism, right? Change. Adapt, survive, or die. Right? So, what is our response? This is obviously, if I don't see it, it's not there. Right? But it is there. Right? This one, this is a frog. The water is cold, it's nice, it's okay. It gets warmer, oh, it's even better. But as it gets warmer and warmer to boiling point, the frog becomes desensitized. Right? So a few of us companies here are like this, Oh, technology is coming, oh, it's come, let it come, it's okay, we can still handle it, We still got our clientele, we're still losing a little bit more in there, but it's okay, The water keeps getting hotter and hotter, but you are getting more and more desensitized. Right? This one, a lot of us are in here. Why? Cloud computing, safe or not, but I got all this hardware sitting in my shop. What am I going to do with it if I go to cloud? Analyze. And then it's analysis, paralysis. A lot of us are here. Right? This is the chameleon. Right? Why did I pick a chameleon? It changes color. It changes color for a lot of things, as camouflage, obviously. It changes color when it wants to do social signaling, as in like, I'm bright, I'm red, I'm angry. That's social signaling to you, I'm angry. Right? Temperature changes, so it's adapting to environment. Right? The chameleon, right? It has two independent eyes. They pivot and they focus separately. Yeah? So it hunts its prey fantastically. Awesome. When it shoots its tongue out at a prey, it does it in 0.7 seconds. And you know what is the acceleration of the tongue when it shoots out? It's 41 G. Right? Now, if you don't know what's 41 G, when the space shuttle comes back on the Earth, it goes at that speed, friction, fire, and all that. That's about 4 to 5 G. Okay? 4 to 5 G. When our pilot, it goes up, against the F-16, it goes up, that's about 4 to 5 G. At 41 G, it will kill every one of us here. Right? Chameleon. Our response to this day, in this age, let's try to be like the chameleon. So, for many, many, many of us, we are at an inflection point. Meaning, our business, we got to act on it, and we either grow, or if we don't act on it, we decline. Right? There's no middle ground, right, where you can say, I find a middle spot there, I stay in there, like the frog or like the ostrich, right? I'm safe. The very fact that you're keeping still means you are declining already, right? And in the management circles, they coined this term for a lot of these companies who are sort of in the middle ground, dithering, the ostriches and the frogs, right? They are called the walking dead. They're dead already. They're considered dead already. And I can share with you a little few examples afterwards to illustrate this point. So, what do we need to do? Right? Obviously, this is a massive transformation that's going on. We need to strategize. That is usually always the first step you take, to strategize. Right? And adrenaline, this is a molecular structure of adrenaline, right? So as an individual, right, when we are under stress, we're under threat, adrenaline kicks in, right? And what does adrenaline do? Apart from giving you stress, and too much of it makes you overweight, and that kind of things, right? makes your blood pressure goes up. These are all for the reason, because adrenaline is prepping you up, pumping you up to, this thing is not working, right? To either fight, right? Or to flee, flight, right? So these are Darwinian responses, right? Survival of fittest, right? If I fight, I'm fitter, I survive. If I run, I'm faster, so I can survive also, right? It's natural selection, right? But let's look at, I picked these examples, right? Comfort Delgro, taxis and bus, right? Transportation, right? What happens when electric buses matures, mainstream, right? Cars. What happened to the fleet of 25,000 taxis and 25,000 and maybe more 40,000 drivers, because some of them, they are not active drivers. What happened to these companies? Look at all the car workshops. They are doing petrol, they are doing diesel's car. But electric cars, they don't run on diesel and petrol. So what happens to all these car workshops? Right? Singapore Press Holdings, right? 60% of the revenue comes from advertisements. People like us will place advertisements on Straits Times, Business Times, and so on, right? So that's their revenue. But how many of us are actually buying Straits Times today? I don't anymore. Business Times? I don't anymore. I go online, right? So would you still place paper advertisements? Right? 60% of the revenue. They have got to do something about this. I'm very upset because I'm a shareholder of SPH. The share is now 350, 360, 55. Right? Pokim. You know Pokim Video? Seriously, you think they're going to be around for very long? Yeah? Conveyancing lawyers. You buy properties, right? You go to lawyers, conveyancing lawyers. Banks. They talk about fintech. SGX CDP. You buy stocks and shares. Your stocks and shares are held in CDP. Right? Oh, government is very hot on fintech now. Right? They're talking blockchain technology. When blockchain technology matures and takes off, all these companies, conveyancing lawyers, banks, they will be threatened. We basically don't need conveyancing lawyers anymore, for example. Yeah, but this is still a long way, maybe 10 years or slightly less. Right? So, the fight or flight response is very real for a lot of us here. And we are all here mainly, small, medium enterprises. We are not the like of SGX or, Comfort Delgro, right? But, we can relate, right? So I was talking to Angie earlier, right? So Angie is into this business of, I hope I'm not describing you wrongly, but, they make molds, for example, right? And I was talking to Cheryl, and Cheryl is saying, I'm using 3D printing now, printing body parts for doctors to, to train on, right? And Angie is saying, today we make mold. If I want to have something like that manufactured, I got to cast a mold, right? Then she'll start to pour plastics on it, let it dry, right? And then you get the mold, and then from the mold, I make things like this. Yeah. Well, with technology and 3D printing, right? Maybe in 5-6 years' time, those old methods of casting molds, to make products, no longer holds anymore, right? The Airbus 380 has got doors with hinges that are not made by traditional manufacturing processes, right? Those hinges are 3D printed. There's a printer spitting out fine titanium, right? And as it spits out its printing its coating, it's making shapes. And these shapes slowly get layered and layered and layered and layered and becomes a hinge, right? That is technology. So for a lot of us, like the business of NG, that is a disruption. So if we look at all these companies that have done well, all right, I call 3 very important factors that every of these companies have as differentiators. Okay, so number 1, they move at the speed of internet. Okay, take it out. All you need is Wi-Fi, basically, right? And at the speed of internet, you are connecting with your customers. At the speed of internet, your customer is connecting with you. The second ubiquitous differentiator, reach. I can reach my customer anywhere, anytime, on any devices. Right? Agility, right? Being responsive, being weightless. Okay, so this is agility from the IT sense of view, from the IT point of view, right? As in, you know, if I launch a program, I want to launch a marketing program tomorrow, I should be able to go to my IT and provision some support and services within half an hour, within 15 minutes, right? And tomorrow I can launch my marketing program online. If IT cannot do this, then it is not responding to your needs. That was why the managing director was complaining to me, right? And sometimes IT cannot be that agile because why? They are weighed down by a lot of things, by attitudes, by processes, by old technology, right? By things that they have in the shop which is, 3 years old, but they still cannot throw it because they have not fully depreciated, and therefore they cannot upgrade the technology, right? And therefore they cannot move. So they cannot serve the business needs well, right? But for companies that have adapted, that have moved, that have transformed, these are the three very real differentiators. And what is a common denominator, right? It's technology, right? And part of that technology has got to be cloud computing, because cloud computing will enable you for all these three characteristics of speed, reach, and agility. Now, if you are in strategy, right? So earlier, so I spoke a lot so far, is basically giving an idea what are your levers, So if you're looking at strategy, what are your strategic levers? Speed, reach, agility, right? Look at, from the strategy point of view, the benefits of cloud computing, right? So on this side, this is for the people who are business-oriented, right? Hey, I put money, where's my ROI? Well, here's your ROIs, right? When you're into cloud computing, you don't make capital expenses, right? And that's very important for your balance sheet, right? Because capital expenses means, you've got to put it into a spreadsheet, right? You've got to depreciate it, right? So the opposite of capital expenses is operational expenses, OPEX, right? So OPEX is fine, right? I buy, if I don't need it, I chuck it, right? It doesn't go onto my balance sheet, right? No maintenance cost. Right? If you don't own anything, then you don't need to maintain anything. So therefore, you don't incur any cost. Consumption-based. As in, on demand. I want it, I get it. And I only pay for what I use. Right? That is a consumption-based model. And productivity anywhere by virtue of connectivity anywhere. As long as there's a Wi-Fi connection, as long as there's an end device supported. Right? So you're business-oriented, you're on this side, on the right. But if you're technology-oriented, right, you are interested in quickly supporting the business, turning things out in 15 minutes and not 3 days. Right? You would definitely be interested in dynamic scaling. Right? I want to scale up because, Christmas season, everybody is logging in, very busy. I need more capacity, I need more processing power. I get it, straight away. Right? That's a feature of cloud computing. And comes February, everybody's gone back to work, bonuses all spent, right? I don't need all those extra power and capacity anymore. So I desubscribe. I don't pay anymore. That is the concept behind dynamic scaling, right? Less time to deploy, high availability, right? There is a guaranteed availability in terms of data durability, in terms of response time, right? And disaster provisioning, right? In cloud computing, it is probably easier to deploy disaster recovery, provisions than if you were to do it in-house. Okay? So from the strategic point of view, you could consider these cloud benefits for your evaluation. And now we come to execution, right? So if you have strategy and you are not thinking of executing, it is quite pointless. Yeah? So it begins with the first step. And what is that first step? Okay, so this is singing the tune of government, right? Government is always telling us, what do? It says we got to go out and do business, go out of Singapore, internationalize. And what's the second thing? Innovate, right? But I didn't think they go far enough. They're basically saying that I've got a fund here, you've got to meet 20,000 conditions, right? Before you can fill in a form that is maybe 50 pages long, right? And you must employ somebody who is certified here and there and there. Yeah, that's all they're doing, right? They're giving you money, but they're not making it easier. And the money is not substantial. But still, it's a good government, okay, I should say, right? So, you got to innovate to enable, right? So you got to enable yourself, but enable yourself in these three areas in speed. So remember, I said speed of internet, reaching your customer instantly, vice versa, right? Reaching them anywhere, anytime, on any device. And your IT has to be agile, responding in minutes, not even days, right? Responding in months now, I tell you, your history, very soon, right? So cloud computing is a message to really take in and, go drill in a little bit more to understand really what is its benefits. Do not let the talk of, security. They are real. They are very real securities. I think there are one or two auditors here. I will tell you, there are definitely very real securities there, right? But nothing is absolutely safe in the world, right? So you look at all the security breaches, Edward Snowden and what's the Assange guy stuck in the embassy, right? These are all inside jobs, right? Believe me, if you are worried about security, the weakest point is the man, the person, the human that is in the chain. Look at the human. And it's an inside job most of the time, right? So look at it with a really objective, assessment. And per se, nothing is secure, right? And if I'm saying that you've got to take the first step, right? And the first step is to innovate, to enable, right? And what are we enabling? We are enabling speed, reach, and agility. But for a lot of us, actually sometimes taking the first step is very difficult, right? And what could be the inhibitor? We are people of superlatives, right? We want everything good, fast, and cheap. Is it possible? Good, fast, and cheap, right? Let me take you through a couple of equations, right? You can be good and fast, right? Can you be cheap? No, right? You can be good and cheap. Can you be fast? No. You can be cheap and fast. Then are you good? Also cannot. Actually, it is possible to be good, cheap, and fast, but you must deploy a very, very quantum leap in thinking, what we call blue ocean strategy. All right? I mean, look at Apple, Apple, right? Are they fast? You want an app today, you go to the app store, you find the app, you get the app. Is that fast? I think they're fast. Are they cheap? No? My God, if I pay $2 and $3 or $5 and $10, that's cheap for me. Oh, no, of course. That is nowadays you buy the printer, you buy the ink, the printer is free, that kind of approach, right? Yeah, but I'm talking about the app, right? The app store, right? They're fast, they're cheap, are they good? Yeah, maybe reasonably good. I'm quite happy. So they come, in my view, they come nearest to being good, fast, and cheap. But for a lot of us, usually trying to be all three at the same time is very radical. It's blue ocean strategy. You got to dig that up and understand what it is. Okay, so what's the moral of the story here, right? If you have to innovate, meaning you have to spend money, right? You got to be realizing that if cost is your overriding concern, right? You will never be good and fast. Right? So that's the number one inhibitor, something to think about. And since we're at it, right, the other showstopper usually for most of us, right, is the confidence of not succeeding, right? I buy this, I try that, and will I succeed or not, right? I like to put it a bit more bluntly. It's called the fear of failure, right? So we've got all this saying like, oh, don't worry about failure. We learn from our mistakes, we improve, right? Well, that is good, because if you're into design thinking, this is one of the concepts behind thinking. Take failure out of your vocabulary. It doesn't exist, right? Because failure is feedback. If you want to do something, you have done your due diligence, right? You've done all your planning, and you execute. and the result is not as what you expected, that is a feedback. That is not a failure. That is a feedback, meaning something there you didn't tweak right. Something there, little minor component you overlook. So that's a feedback to you. Make it right. Solve that missing component. That's your feedback to you. Right? And what about feedbacks like this? By the way, I realize it's easy for me to say, but it can be expensive. Right? It can be expensive. It can be fatal. Right? So here's another concept in design thinking. You have to fail. You must fail. Because you don't fail, you don't get feedback. If you don't get feedback, how do you make a perfect product? So you must fail. But avoid fatality, avoid costly expenses. Because you need to fail fast and fail early. Right? So you're into this cloud computing experiment. You're not sure whether it worked for you. Do all your due diligence. You plan. You tried it. Right? You know I got to roll something out in 6 months' time. I better learn to fail fast and early in the first 1 or 2 months. Right? If I don't do all this failing and getting the feedback and doing it early and fast, right? When I roll out something and then it's live and running, right? And then comes the peak season, extreme demand on my goods and services, my system crash. That is fatal. That can be fatal. Right? So let's look at some innovative examples, right? You recognize all this, no? Yeah? Uber. The largest taxi company in the world. Do they own any taxis? What do they have? They don't have any taxis. Right? But what are they? They're the world's largest taxi company. Airbnb. The world's largest accommodation providers. Do they own any hotels? Skype, WeChat. They are the most popular communications company. Do they own any telco infrastructure like Singtel and StarHub? Right? Netflix, the world's largest movie provider. Right? Do they own any cinemas? Alibaba, the most valuable retailer. They don't carry any inventory. Facebook, media owner. They don't create any content. It's you and I who are creating the content for them. Right? Apple, Google, largest software vendor. As in, like, you want software, you go to Google Play Store and you go to Apple App Store. Right? And you get your app there. But do they write any software themselves? Right? Can you see that thinking? Right? This business have what they have now for their success, but they definitely don't have what they need to make them succeed, right? In terms of the products they're carrying. So what is the moral of the story here? Right? What is their secret ingredients? Right? In other words, if you're thinking along those lines, you'll be wondering, if they have those secret ingredients that I can have some too, right? What would they be? Well, number one is they have leverage. Leverage means what? I don't own their own taxi, right? I get all these people with their own cars and, companies who decide to invest in me and buy cars, right? But I don't own them, right? I leverage on them. What they are good at, what they have, I leverage on it. I don't need to own it. Because if they don't need to own it, it means I don't carry cost. Right? So for you, what is it that you can leverage on? Weightlessness. Okay? This is weightlessness in terms of owning assets and infrastructure. Right? So why, for example, I'm just starting out on my business, right? So I need a small little server and this and that. I need a room, And then the room, I got to make sure I have a UPS, And when the UPS fails, I got to make sure it runs for at least 1 hour or 2 hours, because I will back up a lot of things, then I got Wi-Fi, and security. Oh my God, every night I got to do backup, It means what? I got a room, I got to find the hardware, I got to find the people, I got to manage it, I got to operate it, I got to support it. That's too heavy for me. I can't run. I'm way down. Right? So with the concept of cloud computing, it means technology and looking at the cloud computing as being now my data center in the cloud. So if you ask me, Henry, where's your data? Do you have a data center? I'll tell you, yes, I have a data center. Oh, good. Can I come and see it? No. It's actually, okay, I got to bring a non-sponsor in. I got to be honest here, right? My data center is with Amazon. Right? Right? I have a .com, all right? At the end of a .com, that .com is actually hosted in Amazon. Right? My data center is there. Right? Am I way down by all this thing? I got to depreciate, I got to manage, I got to support? No, I'm weightless. Okay, so technology is driving me there. So this kind of secret ingredient is something that you can take back, right, and think about. It's like, hey, you know, cloud computing is a transformation. It's a landscape change. And by the way, I said it again. All right, it is a tectonic shift in the making. All right, cloud computing is a tectonic shift in the making. So I'll talk about now as what IT as a service, right? So this concept is, like I said earlier in my example, right? IT used to be what? A cost center, right? I do everything. At the end of the year, I divided it up, and then I say, hey, Mr. Managing Director, here's your bill for the year. It's an IT tax, actually, right? And in that way of cost recovery, it is an indirect cost, right? Now, of course, 18 years ago already, I was calling my user customers, right? So, because why? We wanted to make IT more accountable, more responsive. And so we said, look, you know, if we go after ROI, in other words, if I have to make an IT project now, the project manager is not IT. The project manager is actually the end user who is going to use the application and who is paying for it, right? He is the project manager, right? So IT became to be run as a business, right? It's a fad actually, because, you know, today, you know, it's sort of, everybody's still going after ROI, and it's somehow not happening, right? But what's the latest evolution in this thinking? Okay, IT is as a service. Okay, so a service is what it is, right? You buy a service, so you need an accounting system. It serves your needs. It pays for, you pay for what you have used. You only need Wi-Fi and a laptop, right? When you need help, it is available. If you need more power or capacity, you have it immediately. And if someone backs up the systems for you, you're guaranteed a certain level of data availability and durability. Your system is easily restored if ever there was a disaster, right? All you need is just a Wi-Fi and a laptop. And with ITaas, you didn't have to own, manage, or operate your infrastructure. Your data center is actually in the cloud. It's yours. You don't own it, but someone is managing and operating it for you. That's basically ITaas, IT as a service in a nutshell, right? And look at it as you have a data center, your data center is in the cloud, right? And cloud enables you, your business in the ways that weren't possible before, right? New businesses are born in the cloud. The Uber of the world, the Airbnb of the world, they are born in the cloud, right? And if Gartner is anything to go by, today, as a company, as a business owner, if we are still saying, hey, you know, there's no cloud policy, it is the same as saying today, no internet policy, right? So 10 years from at the end of this decade, this is going to be as rare as no internet policy. It will be cloud first, okay? So consuming as IT as service, let me unpack for you, all right? Facilities, right? You need a building, you need power and cooling, you need a network to enable your connectivity, you need the compute and the storage capacities to run your applications, you need the applications to give you the functionalities you need, the business functionalities. And then right at the top, you as a consumer would only be interested in this level here. You will not be interested in all this. This should be in the cloud, all right? And there are 4 factors there I've already sort of alluded to: consumption-based, assets-light, agility, and financial leverage. Okay? Now, there are various flavors of ITaas, right? So I'm going to talk about, you know, here showing you infrastructure as a service, right? Platform as a service, software as a service. And this is, again, put it very simply, all right, is illustrated by how much of it is provided by the service provider. All right? So if you are consuming infrastructure as a service, anything that's hardware here, network here, is all handled by the provider, right? You are handling this part, the databases and the applications and security aspects, right? And then as you go up the as a service chain, you start to see that the provider is managing a lot more. And finally, if you're consuming software as a service, the whole entire stack is managed by the service provider. All right? Now, there are various flavors, because you hear of on-premise cloud, off-premise cloud, private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, bimodal IT. All right? It's another day to talk about this. Right? But the fundamental building blocks are here. Okay? So, XaaS is getting better now. Right? Because why? We can make basically IT do everything. And we package it as a service where I come to you and say, it's on demand, pay what you use, don't worry about management and operations, I handle it, right? To you, everything is a service if it can be done that way. Okay? So here's another building block, right? Facilities, the hardware itself, the software, the operating systems that make this whole hardware behave like a cloud computer, all right? The ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning, I took ERP because obviously they were talking about SAP. Right? And then, these are multi-vendors. You need to manage them. Right? All this whole thing comes together to provide a service to you. Right? So there are some service delivery aspects of things you need to take care of. Right? And then right at the top, the service management. Because, with services comes support, comes incident management, problem management, charging, that kind of things. Right? So, in these areas, right, if you were into cloud computing, you're basically saying, I'm only interested in consuming, paying, and buying, and not stopping when I don't use. So, as a service provider, Accrets, for example, could handle the facilities layer. When we look at the hardware, we have Lenovo and Intel there. When you look at Cloud OS, you could have Nutanix in there, right? And of course, if it's ERP, it's SAP there by default, right? And Accrets comes in, for example, Accrets can handle the service delivery component for you, can handle the service management and the multi-vendor management chunk for you. Okay? So you're wondering how is all these sponsors coming in together? This is the picture that shows you, this is how we are all coming in together, right? And Accrets International here, for example, as a managed service provider, right, managing this whole infrastructure for you. Okay? So, So I provide this as a summary, sort of like, showing you digital Darwinism. That's your compelling proposition to adapt, all right? That is the 3 ubiquitous differentiator. This is the kind of benefits that should pull you towards the cloud, right? These are the 3 key enabler here to look at. Look at the cost, cannot be an overriding concern, right? And lastly, a stack here that gives you an illustration where every bit comes in together for you. Okay, so I believe I'm a bit over, right? So hang on, where's this? So that's my
yes, thank you, Mr. Henry Loh. That's a very insightful sharing this morning. Let's give him a big hand. Thank you.